Kakashi is by far one of the most important characters in the Naruto series. In the past, I've talked about cruxes, people at the very center of a causal nexus. As bad as I really want to quote Madara here, I believe it's best for me to just save time and continue on. But the point is, Kakashi was such a talented individual, but as his story was really at the start of Naruto, so much of it rolls through the story, picking up a steam in a snowball effect that reaches climax in the Fourth Shinobi World War. A lot of this stems from things Kakashi could or couldn't do. The choices he made and the things he did affected the story forever, affected it in ways he could have never comprehended. Even with the near-precognitive powers of the Sharingan, as powerful and skilled as Kakashi was, he was unable to protect the two things he cherished most. So let's give Kakashi a little hand and help him out, and see if this extra juice we call Sage Mode can actually allow him to change fate and save what he loved most.
Welcome to the Amagi! Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Also, we just released some brand new merch. If you'd like to show your support for the channel even further while at the same time repping stylish clothing, be sure to check that out as well. The store is linked below. YouTube's been unsubscribing users from channels lately, so if you're a fan of us, please do us a favor and double check to see if you're still subscribed. It only takes a second, and it helps us a ton here at Amagi. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video.
Our story starts at a time before the Konoha Bridge recon mission. Kakashi has just been promoted to Jonin on the same day Obito finally becomes Chunin, completely overshadowing Obito's achievement with his own. This is actually why Obito neglected to get him a gift. Not because he didn't remember, but because he was jealous. But for a moment, let's assume that Minato decided, you know what, why don't I teach this kid some real gnarly moves, and instead begins to teach him everything he could. We know that Minato taught Kakashi the Rasengan at some point in time before the Konoha Bridge mission, as the Chidori technique is actually in reality a failed attempt at adding lightning nature to a Rasengan. You remember when Naruto made Rasen Shuriken and mixed wind chakra with a Rasengan? Well, Kakashi basically tried that, but the Rasengan popped, and Kakashi was like, oh well, good enough. So we know that Minato attempted to teach his students his own personal technique, though it seemed neither Rin nor Obito ever picked it up. But I want to consider the possibility that, seeing Kakashi's endless well of potential, he decides that he'll take him up a step into the domain of Sage Mode. After all, Kakashi has already displayed magnificent chakra control through his creations of a Rasengan. However, the biggest issue I have with this is Kakashi's low chakra reserves. Believe it or not, Kakashi actually has really low chakra. In part 1 of Naruto, one use of his Sharingan over a prolonged period left him bedridden for days, and in Shippuden, the one use of his Mangekyo during the Kazekage rescue mission left Kakashi in the hospital. Now, it is true that the Sharingan exacts a heavier chakra cost on those who are not of Uchiha heritage, but the fact that Kakashi just folded like that should tell us something, when someone like Ao carries a Byakugan and can use that easily without so much as one drop of sweat. I mean, look at Danzo. Dude's got like a million Sharingan, one of which is Mangekyo, and it only tires him out a little while. In fact, when Danzo cast Koro Amatsukami at the 5 Kage summit through his Mangekyo Sharingan, he told them it's not a technique I can use that many times in a day, insinuating that he can actually use it more than once in a 24-hour period. Of course, I'll give Kakashi a ton of credit. By the Fourth Shinobi World War, guy was spamming it like a real Uchiha. But the point is, Kakashi has very low chakra reserves, at least at the start of the series. It's because of this that I'm skeptical of Kakashi's capabilities to utilize Sage Mode at all. However, I'm going to give him a pass on it because I'm not a big believer in limiting Sage Mode just because you have low chakra levels. After all, the series canonically states that Sage Mode existed prior to the introduction of chakra to the world, meaning that there were people using Sage Mode without any chakra reserves at all. So if you can use Sage Energy and Sage Mode without chakra at all, then I think Kakashi is fine to learn this technique. And even if he's not, for the moment at least, I'll say he has plenty enough chakra for it. So Minato attempts to teach Kakashi this. He's not about to try teaching this technique to Rin or Obito, as neither of them have the chakra control required to even form a Rasengan, which is only an A-rank jutsu. Sage Mode is something that goes even further beyond that in control. So months of mentally exhausting training later, Kakashi would manage to learn Toad Sage Mode, the same that Minato had and the same that Jiraiya had. So what changes with this? Well, Sage Mode increases your chakra reserves, increases your stats, increases your sensory perception, allowing even a non-sensory ninja to act with the precision of one, and it also allows allows the use of new techniques, such as frog kata. This will help Kakashi in various ways. The biggest issue is the inability to move while absorbing Sage Chakra. However, Kakashi could overcome this in the same way that Naruto did by using his Shadow Clone Jutsu. In fact, Kakashi by this time canonically knows the multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu as stated by the teacher when Kakashi passed the academy exam. Most children only need to make one transformation clone to pass. That is a clone with no substance to it. The teacher stated that Kakashi utilized multiple shadow clones, that is to say tangible clones. This means that at that age, Kakashi could do what Naruto did. Some would say that this is proof of him having higher than average chakra reserves, but that is just not true. Naruto has higher than average chakra reserves, which is why he can use this technique with such reckless abandon. Kakashi, on the other hand, can pull off the same through chakra control. There is a reason why the Shadow Clone Jutsu is a forbidden jutsu. Use of it can kill you if you don't control it properly. Kakashi could. Naruto could just spam it because he had Ashura reincarnation and Uzumaki clan chakra reserves, which likely would have allowed him to wield the Sharingan better than Sasuke. I mean, look at Pain. He had the Rinnegan, which is even more powerful than the Sharingan, and he made perfect use out of it, specifically because he was an Uzumaki. So now that I've finished that long-winded tangent on why Kakashi can do something we've already seen him do, we know that Kakashi would be capable of utilizing this technique to escape the need to be still to use Sage Mode. This would allow him to move around while in Sage Mode without using up too much of it due to his control. Basically, his stamina is squared by this technique. So when the time comes for him to lead Team Minato after the team's namesake leaves for an important assignment on the front lines, Kakashi is more than ready to do what needs to be done. When Rin is captured and Obito convinces the stickler to break rules and remember the old Nindo he used to have of putting comrades first, Kakashi would hurry off to save Rin with Obito. Showing up quickly, Kakashi manages to defend Obito, but instead of getting half blinded by this, Kakashi basically grabs the blade mid-swing and snaps it in two before effortlessly killing the guy and saving Obito's life. Together, they rush into the cave and see their comrade there and their adversary. After a short battle, Kako retreats as Obito and Kakashi save Rin. However, Kako will have his revenge as he begins to tear the cave down in an attempt to crush Team Minato. Due to Kakashi not having lost an eye and being in Sage Mode right now, he would never get his world rocked by a boulder, which means Obito does not need to stop to rescue him. Because Kakashi doesn't slow Obito down, they both make it out of the cave in one piece, and Team Minato breathe a sigh of relief. They're soon surrounded by Iwanin, led by Kako, who are ready to execute them. Utilizing Sage Mode, Kakashi would ready his white light chakra saber to face the enemy, telling Obito and Rin to stay back so he can protect them. But Obito isn't going to have this. Witnessing Kakashi fight all alone, he refuses to be useless, and the determination to protect his friends awakens Obito's Sharingan. Pulling a kunai, he would stand back to back with Kakashi, protecting Rin. The two fight their damnedest against the enemy, and eventually Obito's body begins to give out due to the strain of the long-winded fight. But Kakashi, still working with Sage Chakra, is going strong and proceeds to utterly annihilate the Iwanin. Rin checks up on Obito to make sure he's okay. Kakashi would transfer some of his chakra over to him, which allows Obito to recover. Having successfully saved their friends, they decide to end the detour and get back to their mission. But it's then that Minato shows up, realizing that something had gone wrong. Seeing the dead bodies littering the area, he asks if Kakashi did this, and Kakashi states he and Obito did it, and Obito displays his Sharingan. Minato is impressed beyond words, though that's not to say he's surprised, and the growth Obito had shown was incredible as well. Minato asks why they went the direction away from the bridge though, and Kakashi states that it was to save Rin, who had been captured. Minato asks if Kakashi made that decision. Obito takes immediate credit to spare Kakashi, but Kakashi waves it off, saying that he was team leader. He tells Minato that he chose to save his friend over the mission and would give himself up to whatever punishment his mentor saw fit, but instead of that, he got a hand on his shoulder. Minato would smile and say, "Finally, you're starting to get it." Together, they would go to Konoha Bridge and destroy it, cutting supply lines to Iwagakure's forces, which would ensure that the war slowly draws to a close. But before this, though, Rin ends up captured. I can hear it in your head now. The big uh-oh moment is coming up. I was wondering if Madara would bother with Rin at all. After all, he didn't just happen upon Obito like he did before. Well, honestly, Madara never happened upon Obito randomly. It was all a ploy from the start. Madara knew everything there was to know about Obito from before he knew him. He knew about his grandmother, his charity work, and even his feelings towards his friends. Madara was watching Obito for a long time because out of all the Uchiha, he was the one with the biggest heart. And if he could turn that heart to hatred, he knew he could make a true weapon. One that he could use to ensure his plans would be safe long after he was dead. And so, to a point, I still believe Madara would capture Rin and seal Isobo into her in an effort to force her to kill herself to save the village. But this doesn't work for a few reasons. First off, when they're being chased by the Kirinin, Obito is there with them, trying to fight his hardest. This means Rin has an extra layer of protection to keep her from impaling herself on Kakashi's Chidori. But here is the second reason why she wouldn't die. Kakashi wouldn't even be using the Chidori in the first place. Kakashi originally was forced to retire the Chidori because the speed it came with gave him tunnel vision and made too many blind spots. Since each blind spot was an opening, Kakashi would be leaving himself open way too much, which was dangerous. He only got the okay to use it after the fact because a dying Obito gave him a Sharingan. But now Obito is alive and well, and both he and Kakashi have their original eyes. That means that Chidori in this AU is technically retired, meaning that Kakashi would be relying on Rasengan instead, or at worst his white light chakra saber. Now, yeah, Rin could attempt to jump in front of his saber, but Kakashi is technically still going at regular speeds and would be able to see her coming. Will he stab her? Well, it is a possibility. Even normal people have accidents when something surprises them, but he does have enough time to react, at least to make it a non-fatal wound, and given the fact that they can literally transplant eyeballs on the battlefield without any tools whatsoever, it's not a stretch to believe that a simple poke to the tummy could easily be fixed. Slap a band-aid on it and kiss it better. Rin lives, and because both Obito and Sage Mode Kakashi are here, they can easily fend off the Kirinin, because this isn't something too far removed from what they were already doing in the original timeline. Kakashi was killing them left and right before Obito showed up, only passing out because Rin decided to play shish kebab with Kakashi's arm. She killed herself then in the middle of battle because she was so afraid she would get back to the village alive, and if that happened, well, so it's no stretch to believe that Obito and Kakashi could do this. By this point, Obito would already be a Jonin like Kakashi is, so I think that a beefed up Kakashi and a guy possessing an eye that canonically can see faster than the speed of light would easily fend off a group of ninja. They would both probably scold Rin for what she tried to do. Now, do you think she's gonna try to commit unalive again? No. Even if she wanted to, she couldn't. You know why? She possesses the cursed individual tag on her heart, courtesy of your favorite ghost of the Uchiha. This seal actually restricts you from killing yourself, so she can't do that again. The seal will only break when she gets to Konoha, and she knows that. She explains that, and both Obito and Kakashi are like, why didn't you just say so? No biggie. Taking her back to the outskirts of Konoha, either Obito or Kakashi would go into the village to inform Minato of what had happened. This would likely result in the best Fuinjutsu practitioners to come out to help her. Medical Nin might even come out as well to get rid of the seal on her heart safely. Kushina, being the local Uzumaki, would likely utilize the same 8 trigram seal that she has to help Rin maintain control of Isobu without the cursed tag. So once these things are done and she officially gets the Astoria Reese treatment for always being too willing to die, they would bring her into the village to stay. The Third Shinobi War officially ends, and Madara Uchiha eventually perishes once he gets so old that even the Geto statue can't keep him alive anymore. Either that, or he lives long enough for Nagato and the Akatsuki to be attacked by Hanzo of the Salamander and call the Geto statue to save them. I mean, imagine you're Madara. There you are, just sitting around playing checkers with Zetsu, and suddenly the Geto statue is gone and you're dead. Yeah, well, either way, Madara doesn't last too much longer after trying to sabotage Obito with Rin. With him gone, the only one left to keep the plan alive is Black Zetsu, who really doesn't care who does it, just so long as they have the Rinnegan and the Ten Tails. And right now, all of his focus shifts directly to Nagato, who is sadly crippled by this point, but still capable of using his 6 paths and his spider bucket thing to get around. And try to get those tailed beasts he does, but it's gonna take him a while, and he doesn't really seem to start trying until about the time of the Chunin exams. You could say that he tried to get the Nine Tails during the time Kushina was giving birth through Obito, but then again, I'm a little fuzzy on the timeline there. I can't remember if Obito was part of the Akatsuki by that point. I know that he tried to get Isobu from Kagura, but that was only about 5 years prior to part 1, so yeah, he was trying I guess, but limited success until Gaara in Shippuden's era. So let's look at how things change. Kakashi ends up in the Anbu as normal, but honestly, I don't think that Obito is cut out for that kind of work. The Anbu prefer people who don't really act emotional, and I'll tell you now, Obito is very emotional. He loves so much, he hurts so much. It's no wonder he struggled to become a shinobi of regard. It's not that he didn't have potential, but those pesky emotions were in the way. That's how Madara viewed it at least, and that's how the Anbu will view it too. But instead of trying to turn him into the next Darth Vader, the Anbu will just scratch his name off a list of candidates and send Kakashi to kill stuff. Since Obito never turned bad though, Kagura is never influenced by him, and thus the Hidden Mist doesn't really become that bad of a place. At least not quite as bad. I mean, the place is a hellhole for moralist shinobi with a fascination for projectile hemorrhaging, but I guess it's not as bad as it could have been, and it is possible that Zabuza never attempts to revolt against the Mizukage, which likely means he never leaves the village. Of course, this also means that he never meets poor Haku, who probably gets neglected to the point that he dies. This also means that as time draws closer to Kushina giving birth, there is no threat. On that October night, the Ninetales never breaks free. The only thing heard echoing across the village is the precious sound of a new life taking its first breaths. And hugged up by its side are the two parents who birthed it, ready to show it all the tender love and affection that it deserves. Things are looking happy for our little story here. Sasuke would grow up beside his brother Itachi and close friend Shisui, and because Makoto Uchiha and Kushina are so close, Naruto and Sasuke are exposed to each other at an early age. They develop a deep friendship that sees the two of them becoming almost like brothers. At some point in time, I see Obito marrying Rin. You can't tell me that it wouldn't happen. Rin may have had a crush on Kakashi, but Kakashi was the one willing to leave her behind. Nice guys don't always finish last, especially when their heart is as golden as Obito's. She wouldn't be able to resist. At least, that's how I'm writing it, because damn it, Obito needs a win. Eventually, Obito would go on to mentor Genin, while Kakashi remains in the Anbu, using his Sage Mode to propel his career forward. Naruto grows up happy and with a family, and is taught everything he needs to know to get through the academy exams the first time around. So let's just say that Kakashi, for some reason or another, whether it be personal, such as being removed from the Anbu for not being dark and brooding all the time, or simply because he wants a change of pace, decides to mentor some students too. Just like Obito. Guess which kids he gets to mentor? Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. And considering that these kids are all close friends who would rather all fail together than only two pass, it's safe to say that they would have the exact qualities that Kakashi is looking for in Genin. When the Land of Waves mission rolls around, they would set out for it just as Minato requested, under the incessant begging of Naruto. As they set out, Kakashi is acutely aware that there are those nearby that wish to harm them through his senjutsu. However, he wishes to lure them out. They come out, of course, and when they do, Naruto is on his rear, frozen in fear, leaving Sasuke to counter them. Kakashi, of course, would quickly take them out to protect his students. Here, Sasuke would help Naruto off the ground, even dusting him off and asking if he's okay. Naruto would mention that he was struck by them, receiving a small scratch on the hand, something that Kakashi does not hesitate to clean out. Once he treats Naruto for possible poison and infection, he would immediately turn to Tazuna, who is whistling nervously, hoping Kakashi doesn't call him out for perjury on his request. Kakashi does. Kakashi isn't gonna let that slide. However, despite the fact that this mission is for Chunin level shinobi, Kakashi decides to continue with the mission anyway, in hopes of seeing how well his students do, and even further allowing them to gain some experience. Moving on, guess what doesn't happen? If you said Haku and Zabuza showing up, then congratulations! Zabuza never left Kiri, and Haku's walking with the angels right now. So there's nothing stopping them from safely reaching Tazuna's home. There, Kakashi doesn't bother giving them training, and why would he? Sasuke and Naruto have likely already been taught by their parents how to concentrate chakra to their feet to allow them to stand on various surfaces, and Sakura basically already knew how to do it in the main timeline, so why bother? Not to mention that Kakashi isn't bedridden from using that Domo Sharingan. Instead, he has something superior: Sage Mode. Well, Sharingan's still cool looking and practical, but Sage Mode has cool eyes too, even if they're just for look. Since Kakashi's in fine condition, they get to watch the bridge construction earlier on, and while Gato and his men do manage to put a halt to this, even going so far as to taking Inari and Tsunami hostage, I highly doubt that Kakashi's just gonna let it slide. I mean, after all, he's always got shadow clones at the ready due to his use of Sage Mode, meaning there's probably at least one or two of Kakashi's laying around here somewhere that can sneak up on Gato's men and open up a fresh can of whoop-ass. With them free, and the impressive display Kakashi and a bunch of children are putting on in front of the most powerful mob boss in the entirety of the village, it's possible to even spark an uprising in the people to overthrow Gato. So in the end, the bridge is completed and Gato and his men are run off. Kakashi and Team 7 return to the village where the Chunin exams are starting to happen. Now there are some things that just don't change, and one of those things is how Orochimaru is planning the Konoha crush. However, at the same time, he's not going to even bother taking Sasuke specifically because he doesn't need to. There is a surplus of Uchiha, each with their own Sharingan, so it's not like they're a rare resource for him. He's probably got like 8 Sharingan and 2 Mangekyo by this time. There's no need to tempt Sasuke to turn to the dark side, as neither of them have motivation to. However, Gaara is still that bloodthirsty killing machine, and he's easily going to help Orochimaru, who has already killed the Rasa, to take his place. Much of the Chunin exams go off without a hitch, while Kakashi watches on with an interested eye. The written test sees no new changes, as nothing has really changed in Sasuke and Naruto. At the most, Sasuke maybe hasn't awakened his Sharingan yet, meaning that he's also flunking the test. But all things considered, that didn't stop Naruto originally, so why should it stop Sasuke? The Forest of Death sees some changes to it, specifically because Orochimaru doesn't crash the party. As I said before, no motivation. So this probably ends with Team 7 taking out another team and stealing their scroll before moving on to the exhibition matches. There is no change in the first rounds, really, all things considered. Sasuke never really needs to use taijutsu because he was never branded with a curse mark. This means that he's free to fireball jutsu his opponent into next year. Now, when the month off comes, things do change a little. In an effort to give his team a leg up on the competition, he begins teaching Sasuke and Naruto how to use the Rasengan. Sasuke picks it up quicker than Naruto, but it barely takes Naruto that long to figure it out for himself. He also begins laying the foundation for teaching them Sage Mode. Once again, Sasuke picks it up first, but due to Naruto's higher chakra reserves, not only does he seem to have less risk than Sasuke did, but once he masters it, his version of Sage Mode is actually stronger. They studied these techniques for the entirety of the month they were given, and then they end up returning to the exams. Naruto faces off against Neji this round, but sadly enough, he actually loses it. He doesn't have Kurama inside of him to pop his Tenketsu back open, so even though Naruto has grown significantly stronger, Neji flawlessly Omae wa mo shinderu's Naruto into submission. Sasuke vs Gaara is a different story though. Using the power of Sage Mode, Sasuke's power skyrockets, as does every other stat he possesses. That on top of his Rasengan, he basically bulldozes his way through Gaara's Sand Shield, giving Gaara a brand new face to walk out with. Of course, this throws a monkey wrench in Orochimaru's plans, and so Kabuto casts his Temple of Nirvana technique to cover for the fact that there is no sand monster stomping about. Due to the fact that Sasuke doesn't possess Sharingan at this point, thanks to the lack of a proper stimulus, the boy conks out like a rock. Everyone does. This means that Gaara and the Sand siblings get away scot-free. During this time, Jiraiya faces the snakes outside, and Minato faces Orochimaru. Now, Orochimaru may have access to Sharingan, possibly even Mangekyo, and even the first and second Hokage. But if Hiruzen could stalemate them, I doubt that Minato would have many issues with it. Minato probably solos here. The only issue is that once he kills Orochimaru, you've still got these zombie Hashirama and Tobirama walking around and no clue how to turn that off. So I guess Minato has two new advisors? I mean, Tobirama might know how to turn it off, after all, he invented the darn technique, but would you really want to? You may only be about half as strong as you were in real life, but that seems a small price to pay for being immortal. I mean, look at Madara. Bro was an Edo Tensei and he flat out decimated an entire army. And Hashirama was stronger than him while they were alive, with Tobirama being comparable. Time for Hashirama to hit the town and place a few bets. He probably wishes that he could have been revived earlier to place bets on the Chunin exams. His money's on the edgy kid with the Byakugan. So the threat of Orochimaru is killed in the cradle, and so what happens next? Well, I could see the Akatsuki coming to town looking for Kushina and Rin, and you know who they would find? Obito and Kakashi and Minato. They might also find Shisui and Itachi if they look hard enough, so Juzo and whoever comes to town with them probably are going to be sent packing. If not sent straight onto the afterlife now that Hashirama and Tobirama decided to hang around for a while, sipping sweet tea on the Hokage monument. So things are suddenly starting to look really good for our heroes. About 3 years later, the only thing that really happens is the kidnapping of Gaara. By the way, Tsunade is back in town too, not because she wanted to be Hokage, but because Hashirama called her up to hedge bets on the Konoha Sports Festival, and she just had to be there for that. Anyway, Gaara is kidnapped and Team 7 are sent after them. Of course, Sasuke, Sakura, and Chiyo go to face Sasori, with Naruto and Kakashi facing Deidara, but due to the failure on Kakashi's part to have Kamui as an available technique, Deidara escapes with Gaara's body, which keeps Gaara from being revived by Chiyo. They do manage to kill Sasori though. All 4 Hokage discuss the Akatsuki and decide to send people out to hunt them, and Hashirama and Tobirama go as well. Due to the fact that neither can die, Hidan's techniques are virtually useless, leading to his defeat. And also, Hashirama fought Kakuzu once in life and beat him, so what makes you think he wouldn't beat him here too? So it comes to the point that Nagato wants to take the tailed beasts from Konoha, as, you know, they're really the only ones they can't get their hands on. They might try taking the 8 tails from Kumo first, but regardless, Pain is going to roll into town with his 6 paths in an attempt to take Kurama and Isobu. But there's one problem with that. Pain is going to be killed. I mean, come on. The village has Sage Mode Kakashi, Naruto, Sasuke, Obito Uchiha, Minato Namikaze, Shisui Uchiha, Itachi Uchiha, Tsunade, freaking Hashirama and Tobirama Senju, and more. Pain literally just marched his way into a meat grinder. So yeah, he's dead. All of his 6 paths get re-killed, this time permanently, and Nagato probably gets done in 2. And when that happens, I can just see Tobirama rubbing his mitts together to get a hold of those Rinnegan and discover their uses. Danzo probably chucks one into a pickle jar and pops the other into his head because he's still collecting, and well, the series probably just ends here. No need for a 5 Kage summit because the threat of the Akatsuki ends there. So what happens next? Well, Kaguya doesn't ever show up. Zetsu goes inert for the next 1,000 years or so unless he manages to use Kabuto to bring Madara back to life, and oh, actually, you know what? Let's say that happens. Madara Uchiha comes back to life. I mean, if we brought Tobirama and Hashirama back, we might as well give him a foil. Hashirama and Tobirama would see this and would all laugh because they're 3 immortals slated to fight each other until Judgment Day. To get started, Madara skips over the first 2 steps of his dojutsu and goes straight for the Rinnegan, which Tobirama thinks is strange, considering that he didn't have those the last time he saw his corpse. And Madara breaks the news to him that Izanagi is a thing now. What Konoha would likely do is try to target Kabuto and tell him to release the seal. However, even if Kabuto tried to, by this time Madara would be freed from Kabuto's control anyway. After all, he did the same thing in the Fourth Shinobi World War. Logically, what Kabuto could do is use some of Orochimaru's DNA to utilize the evil releasing technique on Anko's Cursed Seal of Heaven. He could then revive Orochimaru and have him try to release the jutsu on Hashirama and Tobirama, but this doubtless would fail as well, as Tobirama created this technique and is in even better position to release himself and Hashirama than even Madara was. With that being said, the only other 2 surefire ways to defeat an Edo Tensei is to either help them finish their unfinished business, or help them see the error of their ways, find peace and all that jazz, or seal them away. Well, I doubt Madara's falling for the former, so the latter is the only chance, sealing away Madara. The only thing I can really think of is that someone used the Reaper Death Seal on him, which would manage to lock him away. This likely would be Hashirama's choice, considering that he's always been the foil to Madara. Hashirama would use the seal to seal both his own soul and Madara's away for good. Tobirama would then go to the Uzumaki Shrine, take up the Shinigami's mask, and shred his own belly open to force the Shinigami to release all the souls within. Once Hashirama and Madara were released to return to the afterlife, Tobirama would likely then release the jutsu on his own soul, as his time has come and gone a long time ago, and he'd rather just join Hashirama in the afterlife. So he would also just fade away, and peace is finally restored. The next thing coming would be Toneri's attempt to destroy the Earth, and this wouldn't be as easy as it was before, considering that Naruto had 6-path Sage Mode and Kurama to work with, and currently only has regular Sage Mode, which is still cool, but lacks the extra firepower required to really match Toneri. So I'm assuming they'd just actually blow up the moon, while sneaking away with Hinata and Hanabi. Now, if I wanted to get real funky, I could say that this doesn't kill Toneri, because after all, space-time jutsu is sort of his thing. So he could return to Earth with them, where he would basically proceed to kick more ass, but this time on Earth. The best thing they could do is attempt to convince him that Hamada's will was different than what he believes. So that would be an uphill battle without proof, but if we take into account Shisui's Kodo Amatsukami and assume that it would work on an Otsutsuki that possesses an advanced dojutsu and more than likely 6 paths chakra, then they would actually gain a new friend to help them. And when Momoshiki and Kinshiki arrive to cause havoc, the 5 Kage don't even need to get involved because you've got all the greats of Konoha here, plus Toneri, whose 10 Saigon chakra mode would likely be able to stand up against Momoshiki with some help. The issue really boils down to Ishiki, since he basically power cliffed his way into forcing Naruto into pulling out another transformation out of his butt that we had never seen before and likely will never see again. So in the end, is there any possible way for them to beat him, or at least hold him off for 3 days so he can just die of incompatibility with Jigen? Their greatest hope has got to be Toneri. Of course, if none of that works, the Reaper Death Seal is always a viable option. Just for this special occasion, I'm going to say Danzo lives to the ripe old age of probably over 100, and they just make him do it since he's already willing to do anything for the village. So when it comes down to it, if Minato had simply decided to teach Kakashi Sage Mode from the start, the whole series would have changed quite a bit, and everything would have turned out pretty dang good. Of course, Itachi likely would have died at some point after the Pain arc, which I failed to specify, and if that happened, Sasuke would finally awaken his Sharingan. The worst thing about this is that Naruto and Sasuke failed to be all that strong, but then again, I guess things balance out because that power is evenly distributed across a bunch of other people, and in the end, once the Ishiki arc is over, it doesn't really matter anymore since Kawaki and Boruto take center stage as the most buffed out shinobi in the village thanks to their karma seals. So everything really just gets back on track thereafter in scaling, but I guess that's just my 2 cents. What do you think? Comment down below.
Did you enjoy our video? Well, then be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.